The third season of Star Trek Picard saw a host of brand new ships for us Star Trek fans to love. From the retro styles of the Constitution 3 class and its USS Titan-A / USS Enterprise-G, weird underslung deflector of the Duderstadt Class, and the latest ship to be called the Intrepid. Even a whole host of Star Trek Online vessels, including the Enterprise F's Odyssey class Starship. And oh my, she's a beauty. Gone far too soon. Though a Trek tradition of making new ships is just to kitbash an old model and make something weird and new. With that, today we look at the Echelon-class Starship, a two-nacelled Sagan-class variant that is said to be a ship that can hunt down its foes and provide a substantial threat to our heroes in the third season. Let's take a look. Welcome to Trek Central, I'm your host Captain Jack, and let's get into it. Before we warp into this video, if you want to keep up to date on all the latest Star Trek news, lore, and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media for daily updates on the Star Trek universe. As always, please let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, because if you're talking about Star Trek, then we want to hear about it. Okay? Engage. Red alert! This video is brought to you by Star Trek Fleet Command. It's time to beam on board your starship and join me in Star Trek Fleet Command. You will team up with iconic Star Trek characters and command legendary starships alongside your favourite officers. In this free-to-play open-world MMO game, you can gather your crew, customise your fleet, explore strange new worlds, seek out new life and civilizations, and begin to dominate the galaxy. In Star Trek Fleet Command, you command a starbase on the front lines of the Star Trek universe. You can construct fleets of your favourite ships, including the likes of the USS Enterprise-G. The game features more than 100 characters, including the likes of Captain Jean-Luc Picard, Mr. Data, Mr. Worf, and of course Dr. Beverly Crusher. If you're ready to join millions of players already exploring the galaxy, building a fleet, and competing in space battles, then click the link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen to download Star Trek Fleet Command today. Even better, if you're new to Star Trek Fleet Command, I've got some Galaxy class news for you. The team are currently giving out a new player content pack for free using code TrekCentral. The pack grants you Captain James T. Kirk, right in time for Strange New World Season 2, and 4,000 Ultra tokens to use as you wish. Make it so! Perhaps today is a good day to play. Enjoy the video. The Echelon-class starships were mid-model starships active during the early 25th century in service to Starfleet of the United Federation of Planets. The ship was essentially a variant of a Sagan-class starship, which the USS Stargazer belonged to, but with a focus on defense rather than a Sagan-class as a science ship. The ship class was said to be 1694 feet, or 516.3 meters in length. The Sagan class was constructed to utilize new components derived from research from the artifact, which was an abandoned Borg cube that was under the jurisdiction of the Borg Reclamation Project, an independent organization that was overseen by the Romulan Free States, and had treaties with the United Federation of Planets for Federation researchers to assist the project, as the artifact itself was located in Romulan space. Therefore, it can be presumed, but not confirmed, that the Echelon class also utilised components and technology derived from research on Borg technology, with the Echelon's focus on tactical missions rather than the scientific like the Sagan class. The Echelon could have more technology derived from Borg armaments. The design of the ship had the usual design elements of Starfleet ships, a saucer section attached to a secondary hull with nacelles. However, the secondary hull of the Echelon class, if it can be called a secondary hull, was directly attached to the rear of the saucer. Unlike the Sagan class, however, the ship only featured two nacelles, the top two, with these nacelles attaching to a structure located above the main hull of the ship, which is where the ship's dual warp cores were located. Yes, dual warp cores. The structure was the main engineering section of the ship. The nacelles of the vessel had large orange bussard collectors on them, similar to the nacelles of ships such as the Gagarin class, Reliant class, and other ships of the 25th century. This engineering section also had a cargo loading and staging area on top of the hull. This was known as Bay 4 and was equipped to allow large pieces of cargo or a variety of shuttles, depending on the needs for the missions the Stargaze was to be deployed on or stored, in this case also the Echelon class as well. Now, the ship would presumably come with a complement of shuttles, with the current shuttle type Starfleet employing being the Type 14 shuttlecraft. A long-range shuttlecraft that was said to be unarmed and was 52.2 feet in length. These shuttles were usually used for transporting people between locations when transporting via the transporter was not an option. They could also dock with the ship via a docking port located at the rear of the shuttle bay. Seemingly with the tactical role of the Echelon class, some more armed shuttles were also present in the shuttle base of the vessel. I mean, considering the large shuttle bays and the staging area of the ship, I wouldn't be surprised if it also had a complement of runabouts as well. As can be expected with any Federation vessel, this ship was outfitted with weapons. Along the hull were numerous phaser strips, which would allow for phaser fire in various arcs around the ship. Now, the interesting thing about the Echelon-class, which differentiated it from other Federation starships, was its traceable payload, which could allow the Echelon to track its ships hit by its weaponry. The weapons left a residual ionic energy that could be used to track their target through warp. This method of tracking was more efficient than tracking warp trails or transponders, with a hit seemingly sealing your fate to being hounded by the ship and its friends. These specialized weaponry spanned the Echelon role as that of an interceptor, or would aid the ships in hunting down starships, whether they be pirates attacking convoys, or rogue Starfleet starships trying to stop a conspiracy. Does that remind you of anyone? Now, we've not seen an Echelon-class starship from the inside. However, with the Echelon being a variant of the Sagan class, we can take a very educated guess as to what the interior looks like. Starfleet in the turn of the 25th century employed a lot of modularity into their shipbuilding, possibly to recover from the losses suffered in the late 24th century during conflicts like the Dominion War, the attack on Mars, and of course the loss of Utopia Planitia. Most ships of the 25th century employed a standard bridge module, which is very sleek, with the usual iconic central command chair setup found on most Federation starships. Vessels such as the USS Enterprise-G and the USS Stargazer would have the captain's seat flanked by two other seats, for an executive officer and another senior officer, whereas the USS Enterprise-F would have a raised dais with a single chair for the captain in the centre of the bridge. Though these bridges were modular in general design, there would be other differences between ships used on this bridge model. For example, the Enterprise-F would employ more standing consoles for its bridge crew, while the Enterprise-G would have more sitting consoles around the outside ring of the bridge, and consoles that could be swung to the central chairs. What would be standard on these bridges is the primary ODN manifolds at the rear of the bridge, which utilise upgraded isolinear chips that incorporate bio-neural technology as well as Daystream M47 quadronic processing units. That's a mouthful, but hopefully you get what we mean. Now, the view screen of a bridge was actually created using holographic reconstruction generators, HRGs, that create a 3D view of space, data, information, and basically project it on the window, or viewer. A blast shield can cover the opening, which can become transparent as a window, if needed. Therefore, it's both a window and a view screen at the same time. Pretty cool. The viewing lounge can also be accessed from the rear of the bridge. This room offers a view of the cargo loading bays, as well as the engineering bay which connects to the nacelle pylons of the ship. Inside there's also a table for meetings, which has a console integrated into its top, allowing for more detailed meetings without pointing to a view screen off of the side. The viewing lounge also has shelf space for random knickknacks, which are up to the captain to decide what to use there. Usually trophies of prior missions, as well as previous ships in the Legacy, whether it be Titans, Enterprises, or Stargazers. As a Starfleet ship, we expect other interior facilities on board the ship, including, but not limited to, a sick bay, transporter rooms, which would have tactical gear readily accessible in the same room, holodecks for crew leisure when not on red alert, though could provide sanctum due to the dedicated holodeck reactors, which were incompatible with the ship's main power grid. Yep, we're still not letting that one go. A brig for any prisoners the Echelon-class may have intercepted or caught, such as rogue Starfleet Starship crew members, not naming names, and of course many more onboard facilities, like the engine room. As said, these ships were active in the 25th century in the employ of Starfleet, and we know there are a minimum of 13 ships active within the fleet. Some of these ships commissioned were the USS Yorktown, the USS Minor, the USS Cole, and the USS Sternbach. In 2401, the USS Titan-A had seemingly gone rogue. This was due to the uncovering of infiltration within Starfleet by a faction of changelings led by Vadic. Vadic had been a prisoner to Section 31 during the Dominion War, another rogue faction, but of Starfleet origins. Section 31 had experimented on her, and other changelings prisoners of war, to try and create perfect spies for the Federation, enhancing the changelings' already based shape-shifting abilities to allow them to bypass security features that could tell if someone was a changeling or not. Once again, Starfleet creating their own worst enemy here, but hey ho. Now, Vadic had managed to kill her captor and took her form. She would go on to share this gift of seemingly perfect mimicry, if we can pronounce it as that, with other changelings, acting alone from the Great Link in revenge against the Federation. Starfleet had numerous high-level officers replaced with changeling doppelgangers, and were working with the remnants of the Borg Collective to assimilate young Starfleet officers through transporter technology, to take over Starfleet from the inside. With the USS Titan-A discovering part of his plan, and being under the command of Captain Liam Shaw, Admiral Jean-Luc Picard, who was retired, and of course Captain William T. Riker, the changeling affairs of Starfleet would order for the Titan-A to be hunted down, blaming them for the attack on the USS Intrepid, NCC 79520. The attack was actually a result of an assassination attempt by the changelings on Starfleet intelligence operative Lauren, who was temporarily stationed on the Intrepid to intercept the Titan-A. She was investigating the changeling infiltration and had come too close, with changeling security officers placing a bomb on her shuttle, which she would then fly into the Intrepid's nacelle to give her allies on the Titan, which included Admiral Jean-Luc Picard, a chance to escape and live to fight another day. The Echelon-class USS Yorktown was one such ship to aid in the manhunt. She, along with the Excelsior-class 2, USS Menstrual, and the Duderstadt Class USS Trumbull had identified the transporter signal of the Titan. This was just a decoy transponder the Titan had left to throw off its pursuers. The Titan would use this opportunity to infiltrate Daystrom Station, a high-security black site for the Federation, which had been the base of operations for Section 31, and stored numerous Section 31 projects. It was at this very site that the changeling prisons were also experimented on. 2 Echelon-class vessels would track the Titan to the Daystrom Station, the USS Cole and the USS Sternbach. They would try and utilize their traceable payload weaponry in order to keep a track of the Titan after engaging her in combat, but would fail to land a hit. I guess they were crewed by stormtroopers? The Cole and the Sternbach would remain in orbit of Daystrom Station in order to locate an away team the Titan had deployed to the station. And later that year, during Frontier Day, celebrations at Earth to celebrate 250 years since the maiden voyage of the Enterprise NX-01, 13 ships of its class were involved in fleet maneuvers. During this event, Fleet Formation Mode was revealed, a system embedded into Starfleet ships that allowed vessels to coordinate as a single entity in large fleet formations. However, during this event, the emergence of the Borg with the help of Jack Crusher, the son of Picard, and in essence, locutors of Borg, were able to assimilate Starfleet officers under the age of 25, through genetic material embedded in people through a transporter system, acting as a receiver for Jack Crusher's transceiver he had gained from being the son of Locutus. Yes, I know it's a bit confusing. Watch Picard Season 3 or watch our videos, it'll make a bit more sense. These Starfleet officers would commandeer the ships and Fleet Formation Mode with it, killing all unassimilated officers they could find, including Admiral Elizabeth Shelby, who was commanding the Enterprise F. Rest in peace. Now, they also blew up ships which had not been commandeered by its assimilated crew, such as the Excelsior Class 2 Hirako Sulu. Fleet would turn its attention to Probert Station, the space station installation protecting Earth as the central nexus of Earth's shield grid. With Probert Station out of the way, Fleet would turn its attention to key cities on Earth, but fortunately the Borg collective signal would be disrupted by the efforts of the Enterprise-D crew and the newly reforged USS Enterprise-D, rebuilt by Commodore Geordi LaForge. Okay, behind the scenes elements, we can say the ship was designed by John Eves, Doug Drexler, and Dave Blass. The Sagan class was designed for the second season, but the third season would require a lot of new ships for its very large Federation and Starfleet-centric story it wanted to tell, so more ships would have to be made, and the Echelon class is just a 2-nacelled version of the Sagan class. Well, hey. For a lot of the newer ships in Season 2, most of them would come from a collaboration between production designer Dave Blass and the game studio Cryptic Studios, responsible for the Trek MMO Star Trek Online. Though the second season would have some new Starfleet ships designed, or just being an updated Excelsior class, which is the Excelsior 2 class, but one being the main ship, or at least of the first and final episode of Season 2, the USS Stargazer, which the Sagan class would be. Meanwhile, the third season would have a lot more ships created by Bill Krause, notable ship designer and modeler, who had originally worked on ship models to be used in the ready room of the USS Stargazer in the second season. His work on Season 3 would include the hero ship of the Constitution 3 class USS Titan-A, which is turned to the Enterprise-G, as well as the Duderstadt Class ship with the USS Intrepid. Though in standard Star Trek tradition, there are other ways to make brand new ships without starting from scratch, and that is just to change the number of nacelles or add a little pod here and there. I'm looking at you, Miranda class. I mean, in the worst case, you could just add some highlighters to the source section. If you're interested in kit bash Starfleet starships and wonder what jokes I'm trying to make here, we did do a video on them recently. Go check that out with Lieutenant Adam, it's quite fun. The Echelon-class starship was just altered from the Sagan class by removing 2 nacelles from the bottom of the ship. Simple. Many ships of the Echelon class were named after notable designers behind the scenes for Star Trek over the years. For example, the USS Cole is named after Carol Leo Cole, who was a graphic designer on the infamous Star Trek Phase 2, as well as what Phase 2 turned into, Star Trek the Motion Picture, and its sequel, The Wrath of Khan. She was responsible for designing all the Federation signage seen throughout the movies. Mike Okuda would follow in her footsteps, who had continued as a graphic designer up until Picard itself. The initial work can still be felt in sets and design work to this day. The USS Miner is named after Michael Miner, who was the art director for Wrath of Khan. It was his idea that the Omega system was just a weapon, and it should be a terraforming device, which inevitably became the Genesis project and the Genesis device. He also worked on the Enterprise refit from a motion picture, the inventor of the USS Reliant and the photon torpedo casing, and much more. The final named after a notable designer was the USS Sternbach, named after Rick Sternbach, who worked on the motion picture, The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager, and is responsible for so many notable Star Trek ships from Intrepid class itself, Deep Space Nine, and even similar things, or smaller things should I say, like the design of the pad, basically the Star Trek iPad. The Echelon-class seems like the ship class to celebrate these great designers, who have made Trek what it is today, and that is a heavy yet worthwhile legacy to assign to this brand new ship, even if it is out of the universe. Maybe we'll see more Echelon-class starships named after notable Trek designers if we ever get the Star Trek Legacy series. Do you want to see that? And would you be keen to pilot your own Echelon-class starship? Maybe we'll see it in Star Trek Online sometime within the next year or two. Okay, what do you think of the Echelon-class starship? Let me know and be honest, would you captain one of these starships? Let us know in the comments below, because as always, if you're talking about Star Trek, then we want to hear about it. If you want to keep up to date on all the latest Star Trek news, lore, and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media or join our community Discord server. For now, I've been Captain Jack, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Live long and prosper, my friends. Goodbye.